We started this section by considering a paradox. How can early experiences have such a significant influence over our lives if they are rapidly forgotten? We can resolve the paradox by understanding that not all experiences are treated the same. Experience of stressful events can trigger long-term changes in the brain that set expectations at a very general level regarding how to deal with threats and rewards later on in life. Well, like, if you haven't got a frontal cortex at that age, how can it be rewards later on in life? Specific experiences of what, who, where and when take time to develop due to a range of biological, cognitive and social reasons, rendering it difficult to access memories before these systems have matured. Given what we have explored about children's memories, can we trust what they say? Box 10.1. So that proves that reward and emotions are nothing to do with the frontal cortex. Because I remember winning every weekend at the caravan club on the competitions and being rewarded and being a winner. So I think they've got all that wrong as well. Maybe it's done with a different part of the brain before the frontal cortex develops. Or maybe this book is right and the book in E104 was incorrect. And everything they teach about drug use in young people is incorrect and a lie. Therefore, box 10.1. Can children's testimony be trusted? The accuracy of children's memories and the perception of their accuracy by others become especially important when they testify in court. Typically, children are asked to do so when their evidence bears directly on the guilt of the defendant, because either they were the only other witness or they were the victim themselves. Historically, their testimonies have been routinely discredited, grounded partly in the belief that the line between fantasy and reality is blurred in children. Evidence from Chapter 9 should make us challenge that assumption. Children have also been undermined by the belief that they are more susceptible to false memories and have a proper recollection of actual events compared with adolescents and adults. That's not true. I imagined my female friend on a serving table being stuffed like a turkey. Because I fantasized about that, it feels like a memory, although it didn't happen, even though I think it happened because I fantasized about it. Indeed, jurors are often advised of this and encouraged to take this into account when weighing such evidence. As a result, when children's testimony contradicts that of adults, as it is common in causes of domestic crimes and child custody disputes, they are less likely to be believed. Decades of detailed research are now helping to overturn these assumptions by showing that, far from being unreliable, that's incorrect. Look at the significant other. When the children go and live with their mum because the dads can't have them. And they teach the children to think the same way as significant other. And how the women make up these memories of how terrible their partners were, their fathers were, and they believe them. And all that's happened is the fathers caught them cheating and walked away. It's quite strange. And it is the go-to with female species as well. they all parrot it like it's gospel. Figure 10.1. Under some circumstances, children's testimony can be more accurate than of an adult. I agree with that statement. Witnesses, under certain circumstances, young children can be less prone to false memories than older children and adults. Brainerd and Rayner, 2012. I agree with them. I just said so, didn't I? The reason for the lies in the way we organise experience into meaningful memories. Throughout development, children encounter familiar situations like eating breakfast, going to school, attending class, going out to a restaurant, shopping at the store, playing at the park, seeing a movie, getting ready for bed, and so on. The sequences of these events tends to play out in rather predictable, albeit culturally specific, albeit culturally specific, not albeit, ways once they have experienced enough of them. For example, the birthday party script tend to unfold as arrive, hand over present, play, sing, happy birthday, eat cake, collect party bag, go home. We store these as templates, playbooks, or scripts in our minds. And they prepare us for the gist of what is going to happen as children get older. They accumulate more of these scripts through experience. The advantage of automating these scripts is that doing so allows children and adults to deal with the less predictable things in life that need our attention in the here and now. See section 10.2. The disadvantage is that when it comes to remembering precisely what happened, the gist interferes with remembering the detail, potentially making misremembering events that never happen more likely. Experimental evidence has linked an increase in false memory susceptibility with the age to improvements in children's memory for the gist. Bernard et al. 2002. Wouldn't you just say it's, say, a cougar mother who says screen time is bad for children because her motive is she wants to be on Grindr herself and that's the computer that the child is using? So it's a false memory that it's bestowed. Or say a paedophile who studies child development, so he writes stuff that discredits what the children's memory is instead of it being accurate and the adults having ulterior motive. This does not mean we should believe everything young children say or that they can remember everything that has happened in their lives. It means that children's ability to recall events accurately has traditionally been underestimated, and that their susceptibility to false memories can be overestimated. This is especially true when children directly experience traumatic crimes rather than merely observe them happening to others. Cece and Friedman, 2000. Gradually, such research is beginning to change how children are treated in court, how cases are tried, and how due credit should be given to their testimony. Figure 10.1. Well, I remember it was a nursery class, and children today are taught to tell tales. And that's what the in-group did with the out-group child. and because the out-group child was being told off by the teacher because of the telltale in-group, who hadn't actually done anything wrong, she didn't give herself any defence or recollection of the thing, she just took the telling off. Memory for the gist of the situation can make older children and adults more susceptible to false memories than younger children. Memories of me. Autobiographical memory pulls together memories of past experiences into an overarching life narrative or personal history. At some point, memories become not just about what happened, but about what happened to me to achieve that. Children must have a more basic psychological building block in place first, a subject sense of self, the I in I remember. They also need to be able to connect the me now who is remembering the event to the same me than who first experienced it. This is a complex skill involving a kind of mental time travel, and it takes some time to develop. Key point. Autobiographical memory integrates memories of past experiences into an overarching life narrative or personal history. That must be the Special Forces memory that's done that then. Things start off simpler, however, with young children, often referring to fragments of events that happened in the immediate past, which sometimes are then restructured and recontextualized by adults. Vivjish, 2011. For example, a 3-year-old girl might pick up a ball and say, "Grandad," and her mother elaborates on this, putting it into the narrative context by saying, "Yes, you were at the park yesterday playing ball with Grandad." These examples show young children's cognitive ability to retrieve past events, as well as their social motivation to want to share them with others. It is by sharing the past with others that children become aware of them, that memories are not necessarily the same as reality, and that memories can be remembered differently by different people. It also shows the role caregivers have in scaffolding children's memory, their sense of self, and the consistency of that self over time. Evidence for the role of caregiver in influence children's autobiographical memory comes in two forms. First, within societies, individual differences in ways in which adults structure their reminiscing with young children are related to individual differences in children's developing autobiographical memories. Bauer and Burch, 2004. For example, some parents show a highly elaborative reminiscing style characterized by long and detailed conversations about the past. These interactions might contain many open-ended questions. What did we buy at the shop today? That provides a template for an answer at the same time as encouraging children to flesh out the details, e.g. at the shop we bought. In this style, adults and children weave a bigger narrative about the past together, including the who, what, when, where, and the events, e.g. that's right, we went to the shop in town. Who did we meet there? Adults might scaffold children reminiscing with recaps if they lose the thread of the story, e.g., so you said, "Can I play with you?" and then what did they say? Add emotional elements, e.g., was it scary? I provide cues to the next sequence to the story. And then interestingly, this particular style seems limited to just the kind of iterations that support autobiographical memory. Mothers who are highly elaborative during reminiscing are not necessarily more talkative in other conversational contexts, such as book reading, free play, and caregiving activities. Le Carrello and Nelson, 1987. Perhaps not too surprisingly, children who have grown up with parents using this rich reminiscing style tend to have richer autobiographical memories themselves and can remember past events more vividly and in greater detail than those with parents using a less elaborate style. For example, those adults using a less elaborate style typically talk less frequently and in less detail about the shared past, use yes and no questions, e.g., did we go to the shops, and are more likely to just repeat a question rather than provide more information that would move the story on. Viewer, 2007. Also, children who have grown up with parents who focus more on thoughts and emotions when reminiscing use more mental state language, e.g., know, feel, think, believe, in their personal narratives. Rudek and Hayden, 2005. We mentioned in chapter 1 that scientists care about cause and effect, and here is a good example of where researchers have explored a variety of causes that could be responsible for the same effect. It is plausible that some children are good at reminiscing, not because their parents talk that way, but because they are different in some other way. For example, their age, language,